So, Ufotable just announced that the Infinity Castle arc of Demon Slayer is going to be adapted as a movie trilogy, and I have some thoughts, so let's break them down. First off, here are the facts that we know. Hashira Training left off at roughly chapter 139, leaving about 66 chapters left to be adapted in the anime, not including any anime original scenes that they may add to the movie trilogy. It is also confirmed to be a trilogy, but there is no specified release date for any of the movies. Next up, this really shouldn't have surprised anyone given that not only did the Mugen Train movie do incredibly well and break records, but we've also gotten 2 more Demon Slayer movies since then. Plus, Ufotable has always given the series a cinematic feel, especially if you look at how every season starts and ends. Ufotable has also already dipped their hand into an anime movie trilogy with the Fate series, which I think is another good comparison to see how Demon Slayer will go. The Fate trilogy of movies released roughly a year and a half apart, with the first film, Presage Flower, releasing in October 2017, the second in January 2019, and the third in August 2020. All 3 movies topped the Japanese box office and were financially successful, so I can see why Ufotable would want to try and replicate this with Demon Slayer, a series that you could argue is way bigger and much more well-known than Fate. Now, let's take a second to look at how the current trilogy of Demon Slayer movies did. Mugen Train made over $507 million worldwide, is now the highest-grossing anime and Japanese film of all time, the highest-grossing R-rated film of all time, and was the highest-grossing film of 2020. There's a bunch of other records it broke, but I'd be here all day explaining them all. To the Swordsmith Village didn't perform anywhere near that well, and honestly neither did To the Hashira Training, but that's to be expected. Those weren't really movies as much as a thrown-together mosh-posh of old episodes with one new episode tacked on, so it didn't feel like a pointless endeavor to go to the theater. The upside to that, though, is that it probably took minimal work and time away from the main production while also allowing them to bring in some extra revenue. Plus, I can't be too mad since I got to see 2 of the best episodes on the big theater screen. Now, take all that information and apply it to an Infinity Castle trilogy. These could become some of the highest grossing films of all time given how much hype is put around this arc. Ufotable clearly has a good track record with Demon Slayer, and they want to end it on a high note. If these films release at the right time in the US and have really positive word of mouth, I could definitely see a lot of non-anime watchers giving it a shot if they just want to see a cool animated action movie. This is a chance for anime to take center stage in the global box office, even more so than Studio Ghibli or Makoto Shinkai films. Another thing to keep in mind is that these movies are all canon content, not filler or wacky side adventures, actual story content which could make those non-anime watchers not only get invested in the series as a whole, but help them feel like the movie is worth their time and money, since, theaters are kind of expensive nowadays. When initially thinking about this, I didn't want them to go down the movie route and instead just do one long season, but now that I've had a lot more time to think about it, I'm not opposed to a movie trilogy. Being totally honest, anime movies get a much bigger budget than shows, which means there's more time and effort put in, plus a theatrical release leads to more direct revenue in ticket sales rather than just going off of the Blu-rays. Another reason I didn't want a movie trilogy is because of how long we'd have to wait. As someone who finished the manga a while ago, I've been eagerly awaiting the Infinity Castle anime adaptation, so I guess in my mind having one long season wouldn't be as long of a wait as 3 movies. But think about it this way, would you rather have one long season with a couple trending episodes here and there, or 3 movies that could each be their own cultural moments and have massive hype around it? Personally, I'll take the latter. The Infinity Castle trilogy could literally be a record-breaking cultural moment. I mean, Demon Slayer is a massive franchise, and I don't think this much hype will have been in the theaters since Infinity War and Endgame. The time between the end of Hashira Training and the first Infinity Castle movie is when you pester all of your friends to go get caught up on the anime so that you guys can go see the movie together and have this shared experience. I've already started making my list of people who I want to go see the movies with opening night, and if anything can save movie theaters at this point, it's Demon Slayer. If you thought Rengoku vs. Akaza on the big screen was wild, Infinity Castle will be 10 times that hype, and I'm not even exaggerating. And while that is mostly positive stuff, I do have one big concern that still bugs me. That being the release timing between Japan and the rest of the world. I don't personally remember seeing a lot of Mugen Train spoilers online before it hit the US, but that was also 4 years ago, so who knows? And the other movies didn't really have anything to spoil since it was mostly episodes we'd already seen. Infinity Castle is a whole different beast since it's a lot of final battles for various characters, and having those moments spoiled ahead of time would be awful. I know there's a crowd of people out there who say that the spoilers have been out there since the manga ended, and while that's technically true, there are a lot of anime-only fans who haven't been spoiled yet and have no intention of doing so now. And of course, the caveat to that is seemingly how Ufotable and Aniplex have closed the gap between each Japanese and worldwide release. Mugen Train hit Japanese theaters in October 2020 and US theaters in April 2021, so about 6 months. The other two compilation films dropped in the US about a month after Japan, but you could argue that was because most of the localization work had already been done. Needless to say, I would assume that movies of this scale for a franchise this big would get a pretty high priority when it comes to localization. Maybe they'll keep it close to a month, or ideally, it'll be a simultaneous worldwide release. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. And for those who would argue, well, maybe not everyone has access to a theater, I say that Ufotable will probably do exactly what they did with Mugen Train. The Infinity Castle trilogy will have a good long theatrical run, then get chopped up into episodes and aired like normal, so there's no missing gaps on places like Crunchyroll, Netflix, etc. when people go back to watch the series later. That really would be the best of both worlds, since not only would we get the insanely hyped theater experience, but then also later get unique openings and endings for the Infinity Castle arc. There's also a chance that Ufotable only adapts the Infinity Castle arc as movies, since that's what they're titled, then leaves the Sunrise Countdown arc to air as a normal anime season and close things out that way. Overall, I am incredibly excited to see how Ufotable finishes out Demon Slayer. It's clearly one of their passion projects, and I trust that they will give it the proper send-off that it deserves. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you excited for the movie trilogy, or did you want it to be a normal anime season? I look forward to reading all of your different opinions down below. If you liked this video, be sure to subscribe, since I'm not only working on a review of the Hashira training arc, but also have plenty of more anime content on the way. Speaking of which, you can start by checking out one of the two videos on screen, or maybe both. I'm not really here to tell you what to do.